What happens when a music legend walks onto a morning show expecting respect, but gets interrogated like a criminal? In just 25 seconds, one comment from the host turned a friendly interview into the most explosive exit in Good Morning America history. Chaka Khan sat down on that iconic couch, her presence commanding the room the way only a 10-time Grammy winner could. The studio lights gleamed off her perfectly styled hair as she settled in, ready to talk about her latest project. Sam Champion sat across from her, that familiar television smile plastered across his face. Robin Roberts was to his left, and Michael Strahan occupied the other end of the couch, both looking relaxed and ready for what they assumed would be a routine celebrity interview. The energy in the studio felt electric but normal. Cameras were positioned perfectly, capturing every angle. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, adjusting lights and checking sound levels. Nobody could have predicted what was about to unfold. Nobody could have imagined that this seemingly ordinary morning would become a moment that would define careers and destroy reputations. So, Chaka, Sam began, leaning forward with an intensity that immediately felt wrong. Let's talk about your career. You've had quite the journey, haven't you? Ups and downs. Lots of downs from what I've read. The smile on Chaka's face flickered for just a moment. You could see the confusion in her eyes, the slight tilt of her head as she processed what she had just heard. Well, I'd say it's been pretty remarkable, actually. 50 years in this business, and I'm still here, still making music people love. Sam nodded, but there was something dismissive in the gesture, something condescending in the way he pursed his lips. Right. But you have to admit, you're not exactly topping the charts like you used to. When was your last real hit? I mean, a song people actually know? Robin Roberts shifted uncomfortably in her seat. You could see it in her eyes, that flash of concern, like she knew this was heading somewhere dangerous. She glanced at the producers behind the cameras, a subtle look that said, "Is this really what we're doing?" Michael Strahan cleared his throat, but Sam plowed ahead, oblivious or simply uncaring. "I'm sorry," Chaka said, her voice still controlled but with an edge creeping in. "Are you asking me about my music, or are you trying to suggest I'm irrelevant?" No, not irrelevant," Sam said, waving his hand dismissively like he was swatting away a fly. "Just, past your prime. It happens to everyone. Look, you had your moment. The 70s, the 80s, you were incredible, but this is 2000 and something now. Music has changed. Maybe you haven't changed with it." The air in the studio seemed to freeze. Every crew member within earshot stopped what they were doing. The camera operators exchanged glances. The sound engineer pulled off one side of his headphones, unsure if he had heard correctly. Robin Roberts actually put her hand to her forehead, a gesture of disbelief at what she was witnessing. Michael Strahan's jaw dropped slightly, and he exchanged a quick glance with Robin that said everything. "This is going off the rails, and we need to stop it." "Excuse me?" Chaka's voice rose slightly, still maintaining her composure but clearly stunned by the audacity. "You invited me here to tell me I'm past my prime? On live television?" Sam leaned back, that smile never leaving his face, like he was enjoying himself, like this was all some kind of game. "I'm just being honest, Chaka. Isn't that what journalism is about? Honest questions? I mean, when I see your name, I think, oh, that's that singer my mom used to listen to. Not exactly the reaction you want from the younger generation, is it?" "Sam?" Robin interjected, her voice tight with barely contained frustration, trying desperately to steer the conversation back to safer waters. "I think what we all want to know is about Chaka's incredible influence on modern artists. So many singers today cite you as an inspiration. Chaka, Beyoncé, Mary J. Blige, they all talk about how you paved the way." But Sam wasn't done. He cut Robin off with a raised hand, a gesture so dismissive that you could see Robin's face flush with anger. "Hold on, Robin. I'm talking to our guest here. Chaka, let me ask you something else. Do you ever feel like you're just riding on the coattails of your old success? Playing the same old songs at state fairs and casinos, reliving glory days that are long gone? The silence that followed was so complete that you could hear the air conditioning humming through the vents." Michael Strahan jumped in now, his voice firm, his athlete's instinct for teamwork and fair play kicking in. "Man, come on. That's not fair. That's not even close to fair. Chaka Khan is a legend. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, least of all to us. Sam, turned to Michael with an expression of mock surprise, his eyebrows raised in theatrical shock. "I'm sorry, am I not allowed to ask real questions anymore? Are we just supposed to sit here and blow smoke about how great everyone is? That's not journalism, Michael. That's a puff piece. That's what you do when you're scared of your guests." "Scared?" Michael's voice rose. "Nobody's scared, Sam. But there's a difference between asking tough questions and being disrespectful. What you're doing right now, that's disrespectful." Chaka Khan stood up then, and everyone in the studio could feel the shift in energy. It was like the temperature had dropped 10 degrees. This was a woman who had commanded stages around the world, who had stared down record executives and industry gatekeepers, who had earned every single accolade through raw talent and determination. And she was not about to sit there and be disrespected by someone who clearly had no idea who he was dealing with. "You know what, Sam," she said, her voice steady and powerful, carrying the weight of 5 decades of experience. "I don't need to sit here and listen to this. I've been in this industry for 5 decades. I've sold millions of records. I've won Grammy after Grammy. I've influenced generations of artists. And you're going to sit there on your little morning show and tell me I'm irrelevant? Tell me I'm past my prime?" Sam's smile faltered for the first time, just a tiny crack in his confident facade. "Now, Chaka, don't get emotional. I'm just asking questions that I think our viewers want answered. People are curious about these things." "Emotional?" Chaka's eyes flashed with something dangerous, something that said she had reached her limit. "You think I'm being emotional because I won't let you disrespect me? Let me tell you something about emotions, Sam. I earned the right to feel however I want to feel. What I won't do is sit here and be insulted by someone who probably couldn't carry a tune if his life depended on it." Robin Roberts tried again, her voice gentle but urgent, like she was trying to soothe a wounded animal. "Chaka, please, we all have so much respect for you. This isn't representative of how we feel. This isn't who we are as a show. Then why isn't anyone stopping him?" Chaka shot back, gesturing at Sam with one perfectly manicured finger. "Why are you all just sitting there while he talks to me like I'm nobody? Like my career, my life's work, means nothing?" Sam, apparently unable to read the room, or simply too arrogant to care, decided to double down. It was like watching someone dig their own grave, shovel by shovel. "Look, I think you're overreacting. This is what happens when celebrities can't handle a little criticism. You're used to everyone kissing your feet, telling you how amazing you are. But out here in the real world, people have opinions. And my opinion is that you're not the star you used to be. That's just facts." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the crew members behind the cameras seemed to have stopped moving, stopped breathing. Michael Strahan slowly shook his head, looking at Sam like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Like he was watching a stranger, not a colleague he had worked with for years. Robin Roberts had her hand over her mouth, clearly mortified, her eyes wide with shock and dismay. Chaka took a deep breath, and when she spoke, her voice was quiet but carried the weight of someone who had finally had enough. "You know what the difference is between you and me, Sam? I've earned my place. Every single thing I have, I worked for. I didn't get handed a television show because of my smile or my hair. I got where I am because I have talent. Real, undeniable talent. And 50 years from now, people will still be singing my songs. But you? You'll be forgotten the moment you leave this chair. You're replaceable. I'm not." Sam's face flushed red, a deep crimson that spread from his neck up to his forehead. "Now that's just uncalled for. That's a personal attack. I'm trying to do my job here, and you're attacking me personally? Your job?" Chaka laughed, but there was no humor in it, just bitterness and disappointment. "Your job is to attack your guests, to make them feel small so you can feel big? That's not journalism, Sam. That's just being cruel. That's just being a bully with a microphone." Michael Strahan stood up now too, his 6'5" frame rising to its full height, moving closer to Chaka in a gesture of solidarity and protection. "Hey, Chaka, you don't have to stay here if you don't want to. Nobody would blame you. I wouldn't blame you. I'm not sure I want to stay here either after this. Don't encourage her to leave." Sam snapped at Michael, his voice sharp and defensive. "We're in the middle of an interview. We have a schedule. We have other segments planned." "An interview?" Chaka turned back to Sam, her eyes blazing with righteous anger. "This? Stop being an interview the moment you decided to make it about tearing me down. You don't get to do that. You don't get to invite someone onto your show and then humiliate them for entertainment." Robin Roberts stood as well. reaching out toward Chaka with both hands extended like she was trying to bridge an impossible gap. Please, Chaka, we can move on from this. Let's talk about your music, about what you're working on now. That's what people really want to hear about. That's what I want to hear about. But Sam wasn't backing down. If anything, he seemed to be doubling down, tripling down, his pride refusing to let him admit he was wrong. She's the one who's being difficult. I asked legitimate questions, and she couldn't handle it. That's not on me. That's on her for being too sensitive. Chaka turned to face Sam one last time, and the look she gave him was one of pure disdain mixed with pity. You want to know what's difficult, Sam? Difficult is being a black woman in the music industry for 50 years. Difficult is fighting for respect every single day of your career. Difficult is being told you're too much of this or not enough of that. Difficult is having to prove yourself over and over again. Even after you've won every award, broken every record, influenced every artist who came after you. What's not difficult is sitting in a chair asking gotcha questions and thinking you're somehow important because you're on television. I don't have to sit here and take this, Sam said, his voice rising to match hers, his composure finally cracking. No, you don't, Chaka agreed, her voice steady as stone. But I don't have to sit here and take your disrespect either. The difference is, I'm the guest. You're supposed to be the professional. You invited me here. I didn't beg to be on your show. Sam stood up abruptly, and for a moment, it looked like he might actually walk off his own show, storm off the set in some grand dramatic gesture. You know what? Maybe this interview is over. If you can't handle a few tough questions, then maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews at all. Maybe you should just stay in whatever bubble you've built around yourself. Tough questions? Chaka's voice dripped with disdain, each word carefully measured and devastating. You wouldn't know a tough question if it slapped you in the face. What you asked weren't tough questions. They were insults dressed up as journalism. There's a difference, and if you can't see that, then you're not half the broadcaster you think you are. Robin Roberts stepped between them physically now, her hands raised like a referee in a boxing match. Okay, let's all just take a breath here. This has gotten way out of hand. Chaka, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. This is not how we do things here. This is not who we are. Sam, I think we need to take a break. I think we need to cut to commercial right now. A break? Sam laughed bitterly, the sound harsh and unpleasant. From what? From her diva behavior? I'm not the one throwing a tantrum on live television. I'm not the one who can't handle a simple conversation. That was it. That was the moment. That was the word that broke the last thread of civility. Chaka Khan reached down, grabbed her purse from beside the couch, and slung it over her shoulder with a finality that said everything. I'm done here. I don't need this. I don't need you. And I certainly don't need to sit here and be called a diva by someone who's acting like a spoiled child who never learned manners. Michael Strahan moved to her side immediately, his presence protective and supportive. Let me walk you out, Chaka. You deserve better than this. You deserve so much better than this. Don't you dare, Sam said, pointing at Michael with an accusatory finger. You're supposed to be hosting this show with me. We're a team. Not like this, Michael said firmly, his voice brooking no argument. Not if this is how we're treating legends. Not if this is what we've become. Chaka Khan doesn't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. Sam's face was now bright red, and his voice had taken on a desperate edge, like he was realizing too late that he had made a catastrophic mistake. Fine, walk out then. See if anyone cares. See if this hurts me at all. I'll be here tomorrow, and the day after that, doing my job. Where will you be, Chaka? Playing some casino in the middle of nowhere? Singing at county fairs? Chaka stopped walking. She turned around slowly, deliberately, and everyone in the studio held their breath. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of this disaster, and you could feel that everyone present knew they were witnessing something historic, something that would be talked about for years to come. When she spoke, her voice was calm, measured, and absolutely devastating. I'll tell you where I'll be, Sam. I'll be exactly where I've always been, at the top, because talent doesn't fade. Respect doesn't fade, class doesn't fade, and all three of those things are something you clearly know nothing about. She started walking again, Michael Strahan matching her stride step for step. Robin Roberts followed a few steps behind, calling out, her voice cracking with emotion. Chaka, please, let me apologize properly. This isn't who we are. This isn't what this show stands for. Chaka paused at the edge of the set, right where the bright studio lights gave way to the darker backstage area, turning back one more time. You know what, Robin? I believe you. I believe you're better than this. I believe Michael is better than this. But him? She pointed at Sam without even looking at him, the gesture somehow more cutting than if she had stared him down. He showed me exactly who he is, and I'm going to believe that. Maya Angelou said when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Well, Sam just showed me everything I need to know. Sam, still standing by the couch, threw his hands up in the air, his voice taking on a whining quality. Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. I ask a few honest questions, and suddenly I'm the villain? Suddenly I'm the bad guy? You made yourself the villain, Michael said, his voice hard as iron. All you had to do was show some respect. That's all. Just basic human respect. But you couldn't even manage that. Respect? Sam scoffed, the word coming out like a curse. She comes on here with an attitude, acting like she's too good to answer basic questions, and I'm supposed to just roll over? I'm supposed to pretend like everything is perfect? Robin Roberts turned back to Sam, and for the first time there was real anger in her voice, a sharpness that cut through the air. Sam, stop. Just stop talking. You were out of line. You were rude, you were dismissive, and you were cruel. This isn't about tough journalism. This isn't about asking hard questions. This is about you forgetting that there's a human being sitting across from you, a human being with feelings, with a legacy, with dignity that you just trampled all over. Oh, so now you're all ganging up on me? Sam looked around wildly, like a cornered animal. This is my show too, you know. I have a right to ask whatever questions I want. I have rights too. No, Sam, Robin said quietly, but with absolute certainty. You don't. Not like that. Never like that. There are lines, and you crossed every single one of them. Chaka Khan had reached the exit now. The stage manager stood there, looking uncertain about what to do, caught between following protocol and recognizing that something unprecedented was happening. Chaka gave him a small smile, her first genuine smile since Sam had started his attack. It's okay, honey. You can open that door for me. I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. Not today, not ever. Sam's voice called out from across the studio. One last desperate attempt to have the final word, to salvage something from this disaster. Yeah, well, we don't need you anyway. We've got plenty of other guests who actually appreciate the opportunity to be here. Plenty of people who would kill for this chance. Chaka didn't even turn around. She just raised one hand in the air, a single dismissive wave, the kind of gesture that said, "You're not even worth my breath anymore." And she kept walking, her head held high, her dignity intact. Michael Strahan stopped at the threshold, looking back at Sam with something like pity in his eyes, the way you might look at someone who had just destroyed their own life and didn't even realize it yet. Man, you really don't get it, do you? You just lost the respect of everyone in this building, everyone watching, everyone who matters, including me, especially me. Michael, get back here, Sam ordered, his voice cracking. We still have a show to do. We have responsibilities. Michael shook his head slowly. Do it yourself. I need to make sure a legend gets treated the way she deserves to be treated, something you apparently never learned how to do. And with that, he walked out too, disappearing into the shadows beyond the studio lights. Robin Roberts stood alone on the set with Sam now, and the cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of this disaster, broadcasting Sam's humiliation to millions of viewers across the country. She turned to face Sam, and her expression was one of complete disappointment, the kind of look a parent gives a child who has done something unforgivable. I hope you're proud of yourself, Sam. I really do, because what you just did, that's going to follow you for the rest of your career. That's going to be your legacy now. Sam slumped back onto the couch, his earlier bravado deflating rapidly like a balloon with a slow leak. I was just doing my job, he said, but his voice was weak now, uncertain, the confidence completely gone. No, Robin said simply, and there was a finality in that single word. You weren't. And deep down, somewhere under all that ego, you know it. Outside the studio, in the hallway that led from the bright lights to the real world, Chaka Khan walked with her head held high, her shoulders back, every inch the queen she had always been. Michael Strahan matched her stride, and crew members they passed stopped and stared, some with their mouths open in shock, others with knowing looks, supportive nods, thumbs up. They had all seen it. They had all witnessed what happened when someone tried to diminish greatness, and they had all seen greatness refuse to be diminished. "You okay?" Michael asked quietly, his voice gentle with concern. Chaka nodded, and there was even a hint of amusement in her eyes now, the immediate anger giving way to a kind of satisfaction. "I'm fine, baby. I've dealt with worse than him. A lot worse. At least now everyone knows what kind of person he really is. At least now it's all out in the open. That took guts, walking out like that. A lot of people would have just sat there and taken it." Chaka smiled, a real smile this time, full of warmth and wisdom. "Honey, I've been walking out of rooms that don't serve me for 5 decades. I've been standing up for myself since before that man was born. This was just another Tuesday for me. Just another person who needed to learn that you can't treat people like that and expect them to smile and thank you for it." They reached the building exit, and Chaka pushed through the door into the bright morning sunlight. She took a deep breath of fresh air, letting it fill her lungs, washing away the ugliness of what had just happened, cleansing herself of the negativity. "You know what the funny thing is?" she said, turning to Michael, and there was genuine amusement in her voice now. "He actually thought he could break me. Like I haven't faced down bigger, meaner, more powerful people than him my entire career. Men who actually had power, not just a chair on a morning show. He's nobody. Just another person who got a little bit of power and forgot how to be decent, forgot how to be human." Michael nodded, pulling out his phone, which was already buzzing with messages and calls. "The network's going to have questions, big questions. This is going to be everywhere in about 5 minutes." "Let them ask," Chaka said with a shrug, completely unbothered. "I've got nothing to hide. I showed up, ready to do an interview, ready to promote my work, to connect with the audience, to be professional." He decided to turn it into an attack. That's on him, not me. Anyone with eyes could see that. Back inside the studio, chaos had erupted like a bomb had gone off. Producers were running around, talking frantically into their headsets, their faces pale with panic. Assistants were scrambling, trying to figure out what to do, how to salvage the rest of the show. Robin Roberts had walked off the set, leaving Sam sitting alone on that couch. The camera's still rolling, capturing his shell-shocked expression as he realized the magnitude of what had just happened, as the reality of his actions began to sink in. "Can we go to commercial?" Someone yelled from off-camera, their voice high with stress. "We're already in commercial," came the reply from the control room. We cut away as soon as she stood up. Thank God we had that delay. Sam stood up, pulling off his microphone with shaking hands, fumbling with the clip. "This isn't fair," he muttered to no one in particular, to the empty air. "I didn't do anything wrong. I was just asking questions. That's my job. That's what they pay me to do." But even as he said it, he could see the looks on the faces of everyone around him. The crew members who wouldn't meet his eyes, who suddenly found the floor or the ceiling incredibly interesting. The producers who were whispering urgently in corners, throwing glances his way. The makeup artist who had turned away when he tried to catch her gaze, busying herself with her brushes and powders. The cameramen who were repositioning their equipment with more focus than necessary. He had crossed a line, and everyone knew it. Everyone except him, apparently. Or maybe he knew it too, deep down, but wasn't ready to admit it yet. Wasn't ready to face what he had done. A producer approached him cautiously, like approaching a wild animal. "Sam, we need to talk. In your dressing room. Now." Sam waved him off, irritation clear in his voice. "Not now. I need a minute. I need to think. Sam, this can't wait. The network is calling. Twitter is exploding. This is a crisis." "A crisis?" Sam's voice rose again, that defensive edge returning. "A crisis is what she created by storming off. I was doing my job. She's the one who overreacted." The producer just stared at him, and in that stare was the answer Sam didn't want to hear. This wasn't going away. This wasn't something he could spin or explain away. This was real, and it was bad. Meanwhile, outside in the parking lot, Chaka Khan's car idled as she and Michael stood beside it, still talking. Other staff members had started to gather at a respectful distance, wanting to show their support but not wanting to intrude. "You know," Chaka said, looking back at the building one more time, "I actually feel sorry for him. Not because of what's going to happen to him, but because he clearly doesn't understand what he did wrong. And that's sad. That's really sad." Michael nodded. "He's going to understand soon enough. Trust me on that." A young production assistant approached nervously, her hands clasped in front of her. "Miss Khan, I just wanted to say, I'm so sorry. What he said to you, that was wrong. We all know it was wrong. Chaka reached out and touched the young woman's shoulder gently. Thank you, sweetheart. That means a lot. Don't let what happened in there change how you see people, okay? Most people are good. Most people know how to treat others with dignity. Sam, he's lost his way somewhere. The production assistant nodded, tears in her eyes, and walked back toward the building. See? Chaka said to Michael. That's what this is really about. It's not about me. I'm going to be fine. But young people watching, they need to see that you don't have to accept disrespect. You don't have to smile and nod when someone treats you badly. You can stand up, you can walk away, you can demand better. You just taught a masterclass in self-respect, Michael said with a grin. 50 years in the making, baby? Chaka laughed. 50 years of learning when to stay and when to go. Back in the studio, Robin Roberts found Sam in the hallway, staring at his phone, watching the social media reactions pour in. His face had gone pale. It's bad, isn't it? He said quietly, not looking up. Robin didn't sugarcoat it. It's worse than bad, Sam. People are calling for your resignation. They're calling you every name in the book, and honestly, I don't know how to defend you on this one. You're not going to defend me? Sam looked up, betrayal in his eyes. We're supposed to be a team. We are a team. But what you did to Chaka, that wasn't teamwork. That was you going rogue. That was you forgetting everything we stand for as journalists, as human beings. Sam's phone buzzed again, and he looked down at it, his face falling even further. The network wants to see me, right now. I know, Robin said softly. Good luck, Sam. You're going to need it. As Sam walked toward what would undoubtedly be the most difficult meeting of his career, Chaka Khan climbed into her car, closed the door, and let out one long breath. Michael leaned down to the window. You sure you're okay to go? I'm perfect, Chaka said, and she meant it. I'm free. That's what walking out of that room gave me. Freedom. Freedom from having to pretend, freedom from having to smile through disrespect, freedom from having to be anything other than exactly who I am. That's beautiful, Michael said. That's survival, Chaka corrected. That's how you make it 50 years in this business. You know your worth, and you never let anyone convince you it's less than it is. The car pulled away, and Chaka Khan watched the Good Morning America building shrink in the rearview mirror. Somewhere in there, Sam Champion was learning the hardest lesson of his life. But that wasn't her concern anymore. She had done what she came to do. She had stood up for herself, for her legacy, for every artist who had ever been dismissed or diminished or told they didn't matter anymore. And as the city streets rolled by outside her window, Chaka Khan smiled, because she knew something Sam Champion was only just beginning to understand. Respect isn't given freely, it's earned. And once you've earned it, you never, ever let anyone take it away. Not for a paycheck, not for publicity, not for anything. She had walked out of that studio with her head held high, and she would. Keep walking, keep singing, keep being exactly who she had always been. A legend, an icon, a woman who knew her worth. And no morning show host with an attitude problem was going to change that.